When it comes to service delivery, again, ultimately it's the delight of the customer. It's not even satisfaction anymore. It's about the customer delight. And again, you're talking about the culture, you're talking about the lifestyles, you're talking about how your service, this particular service or business is aligned to the overall lifestyles of changing lifestyles. And that's where we're talking about, for example, if you've got the transport, then you're talking about an Uber kind of a thing where people are preferring to actually not own something. They would rather try and hire something. And that's where you're talking about the managed offices, for example. That is a business model. Again, it is coming to fore nowadays. So we need to really look at, as analysts, we need to have a good understanding about what's really happening around the external environment, how that could potentially impact the way we are working, and how our product that we have or the service that we're trying to design and develop, how would that align with the overall changes that are happening in the larger context. So we actually have some tools and techniques like PESTLE, which actually brings you that kind of external factors, and then we do the internal resource audit to kind of match and align these, how our resources are aligned to the overall impact of the political, environmental and ecological, legal, scientific and technological, and the other one is something to do with economical and financial aspects. So all of these are different factors that would drive what we're trying to achieve with each of these, and that's what we're going to again bring onto the table. So we'll move on further into the support. So a BA should also be able to support the teams, and this could be in terms of looking at the administrative aspect of it. For example, it could be to do with the HR, with the networking, with IT support, infrastructure support. So all of these, again, we need to be able to work with these support teams and be able to actually support the development team. In fact, if you ask me, some days ago, BA, in a few years back, BAs were supposed to be the support team. They were never part of the development team. So we ourselves are kind of supporting the technology team in delivering a product or a service or an application. So in that context, we should try and think in terms of the support. For example, the Jira, which is a very widely used tool nowadays, that has come out as a very strong agile tool. But then you might not know that the Jira actually started off as a support tool for raising the tickets or defects. So that was a defect tracking tool, and then it evolved into a full-fledged agile platform. So again, it started off with a support mindset, and as BAs, we need to understand the various support structures, the HR, the recruitment policy, training, development, and then we also need to look at the networking, the infrastructure, the IT support, all of these. In fact, the DevOps is actually another evolving phenomenon now, and most of these agile tools, they're going beyond DevOps, and even NoOps is coming. So how does the product that we're trying to develop, how is our work aligned to this overall emergence of this new trend? Again, that's something the BAs, we should try and pick it up. And of course, from the strategic point of view, BAs have got a huge role to play, and that's where we tend to interact with the senior management. We've got the advantage of interacting and being in touch with the senior management, the CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, and all that, so that we have a big picture view of what we're trying to develop, the program, the project, or product to work on. So we then, after this interaction, we then lay the roadmap, set the vision, share it with the larger audience, communicate it with the development team, with the internal as well as the external stakeholders. And again, we also need to analyze all of these and be able to actually work with the development team. That's where the transition from the strategy down to the tactical and then the operational aspect. So we need to, as BAs, that's the beautiful skill that we can potentially carry forward. So we can actually get to see the whole spectrum, the path of how a strategy, a high level goal, where it sits, and then how that could transcend into the next level of tactical way, the middle management, and then further down into the operational aspect of actually realizing that and then being able to deliver it, test it, deploy it, and then also look at the benefit realization. We are going to talk about each of these in the next few sessions. We'll talk about the specific aspects, how as BAs, we can try and do all of these. So that's, and then of course the operational aspect, we just talked about this. We also need to talk about the specifics of the controls, the policies, the procedures, the rules, the regulations, and also the other systems, other applications that we tend to interact with. In my previous roles, I mean, I think that's where we as BAs can really bring in a lot of value, because most of these other roles, like the developers or the architects, are, of course, architect can have a slightly wider view, but most of the other roles, they tend to have this kind of blinkered view. I'm not trying to put a negative sense, but they're focused on the specific aspect. They, for example, if it's a tester, they're trying to crash the system. They're trying to understand how they can break it and then identify all the potential negative scenarios, how they can really make it foolproof. A programmer would actually try and focus on making and building it. Whereas we as analysts, we've got that advantage to be able to see that from a systemic point of view, from a holistic point of view, and also look at the other aspects of that, other application that it would interact with. What are the different systems that potentially, what are the kind of legacy systems that it's going to replace? And look at the, for example, if they do not have the interface, look at the, read through the development, the manuals, read through the documents, the setup manuals, user guides, installation guides. We should be able to read through all of that, madness, and then come up with some kind of a way to improve over the existing set of legacy systems. Again, that's again to work with the architects and also make sure that we have, again, a team working attitude there. So all of these are important. So it's going beyond the requirements. It's all about looking at a particular system, product, or application or service, and thinking at it from multiple points of view. I mean, that from the business point of view, what is impact? From the technology point of view, how we can develop. From the operation point of view, how we can deploy it, how we can support it, how we can try and make sure that the people are trained up. All of these, or again, the BS are basically playing a great role there.